So things are a little slow as far as the in-ground gardening goes right now, even though we're having seems like an early fall, a little cooler than usual. Things are still a little slow, but we are wide open as far as the seed starting goes here in the greenhouse. And today I want to take you inside, show you what we got going on, and also do a little seed starting. So let's take a little trip inside the greenhouse here, see what me and Greg got going on in here. A little bit of stuff growing, about to be a lot more. Ain't quite full yet, but we're getting there. So let's start over here on this side. So first couple things we got, the things that are probably the farthest along are these two trays here. We actually planted these on our row by row show several weeks ago when we were talking about seed starting. So we got a tray of plethora onion here. Nice big sweet short day onion, and we got this in our 338 trays, and these guys are looking really nice, coming along, growing fast. Probably gonna pop some fertilizer to them pretty soon, and won't be long on these guys, won't be too long. They're growing nice and fast. Here we have a tray of Tehama lettuce, which is one of my favorite head lettuce varieties, and I think these were the ones Greg planted on the show. And those are looking real nice, not quite ready yet. We want to wait till they get a little bit bigger and they pull out of those trays really nicely just by kind of tugging on the stem there. A lot of times people ask, how do you know when they're ready to go in the ground? Well, when you can just lightly pull on that right there and it comes out of there, that's when you know it's ready. So I can show you here. See, when that happens, that means they're not ready. But when they're ready and they got the root ball developed and you pull on them, the whole thing will come out of there. That's how you know it's time. So those still have another week or two. See what else we got here. Greg comes in here sometimes and plants some stuff that he doesn't label. I ain't got a clue what this is. This some kind of onion or chive or leek or something. Well, actually, it doesn't look like a leek. Either an onion or a chive, no label on it. Something he planted. Here we got something else he planted. I can tell by his handwriting there, which isn't great. Got some collards and some lacinato kale he planted there. I got two trays I'm about to plant. We'll come back to that. Over here, some stuff I started a week or so ago. We got some top bunch collard, lacinato kale, and then this blue night kale, which is my favorite for making that kale soup in the wintertime. You see where we got pretty good germination on all those. There's a few in there I need to come and thin out. A couple little doubles in there where I actually accidentally dropped two seeds. For the most part, real good germination on those. Second tray here, we've got all broccoli. We've got some green magic. We've got some Godzilla. And we've got some emerald crown. Now typically, the green magic is the most heat tolerant broccoli, and the emerald crown does better planted later in fall on into winter, but I can't tell what this weather is going to do. So we're kind of covering all of our bases here by planting several different varieties at one time. If it stays real cool or gets real cold, the emerald crown is probably going to do better. If it strikes off warm again, that green magic will come through for us. So either way, we got our bases covered with the broccoli there. Let's spin around here. See what we got over here. We've got a tray of some of our head lettuce varieties that we like. These are all pelleted seeds, which make it real easy to singulate them in the trays. We've got Cherokee, which is a nice red lettuce. Harmony, which is a butterhead. And Skyphos, which is a red butterhead. Looks like all those guys there have came up. Nice, good, full tray there. Over here we've got cabbage, lots of different types of cabbage. Early round Dutch, bobcat, red jewel, which is red cabbage obviously, cheers, which I really liked last year, and on the end stone head. Looks like we got good germination from all of these, and looking forward to doing a little cabbage trial and comparing all these varieties. I grew the cheers last year, really liked it, but gonna be nice to see how these other ones stack up to it. Right here we got two trays of onions, of short day onions, which is what we have to grow down here. The first one is a white onion we just added called Carta Blanca. And these were a little slower to get up and going than some of the other ones, but you can see there they are popping up, and they'll all be up and out of those out of the soil here in the next few days. The next one here is our cougar onion, which we also just added. Real good germination on these guys. These germinated a hair quicker than that Carta Blanca, and happy with how good of a stand we've got right there. Looks like almost every cell of all 338 of them germinated. Let's see what we got right here. Oh, this is a herb tray. Now I'll be honest, I'm not that great at growing herbs. Something I want to get a little bit better at, but we've got some cilantro here, some garlic chives, some Thai basil, and some Italian basil, some herbs that traditionally do a little better in cooler weather. So waiting on those guys to come up. They're, of everything I planted the other day, these are kind of the slowest to get up and going. Like I said, I'm not real good at growing herbs, but I'm trying to get better. And so giving those a try. What we got here? Here we got a whole tray of Cheers cabbage. That's Greg's handwriting. So he's gonna plant a heap of Cheers cabbage, which I can't blame him. It's a great variety. What we got here? Some cougar onions he planted, so some more cougars there. Those are a little further along than the ones I did. Nice looking tray there. Lastly here, some more of my stuff. I've got a tray of Brussels sprouts, Jade Cross on one half, and Catskill on the other half. And then over here we've got a tray of cauliflower. So we've got Graffiti, which is a purple one, Flame Star, which is a yellow one. We've got Twister, and Minuteman, which is a white one. Minuteman is a real fast one. Twister is the one that has really good wrapping on the heads to protect them. And then those color forms are always fun to grow. Nice full tray there. A little bit of thinning gonna have to be done, but always good to see a full tray, good germination there. Now, as far as fertilization goes, you can see there, those plants there just have their first leaves. I haven't put on that second set of leaves, or what we call true leaves, yet. As soon as we start to see those true leaves, that's when we'll start popping the fertilizer to these guys. About once or twice a week we'll fertilize them. We're going to use our little brass siphon mixer here, and we'll just mix up some fertilizer in one of these buckets, usually a cup of 20 per 5 gallons, and then this thing rations it out at a 16-to-1 ratio. So we'll use that and just overhead water them and fertilize them every couple weeks. Now, what we're going to be doing today is we'll be planting some more onions, some more of these new short day varieties I've got in. I got a red one here called Red Maiden, and one here called Duster, a nice big round sweet onion. So we're going to be putting those in these 338 trays here in just a minute. Let me back up out of here and talk one thing about just greenhouses in general, especially down here in the South. Greenhouses are nice. If you can make an investment on a greenhouse, it's one of the funner things you'll have and enjoy on your homestead. But if you live in the South where it gets hot, you got to make sure you have roll-up doors. I hear it so many times from people that build them a greenhouse and they're down here in the South and it's just too hot in there to start seeds this time of year. So you need a lot of ventilation there. A lot of times, even down here, just some roof ventilation isn't enough. So we like these because they have these roll-up doors and we can get some nice airflow through there. And it's not too hot this time of year. Now, once it gets on into winter and we have a freezing day here and there, we'll roll these down. But for the most part of the year, we leave these rolled up because we just don't need that much heat in there. And a lot of these cool weather crops won't germinate if the soil is too hot. So we leave it well ventilated right now, and then we'll kind of shut her down from time to time if it gets real cold. All right. Let's get some seeds started here. So the first thing we're gonna do is come in here with some of our seed starting mix. This is Pro Mix here. We still have some bales left over of this stuff, so we've been using it. Now, some people will choose to wet this down before they put it in the tray, and nothing wrong with doing that. I find that that process is a bit more messy, so I like to do it this way, put it in here dry, and then wetting it down. And these 338s we sell are pretty deep, so I'm going to need a little bit more seed starting mix here. You want to make sure we get all these cells nice and full and packed in here. We're just going to kind of move it around, pack it down. We'll get them all full. And I love seed starting. This is just one of my favorite parts of gardening, is out here doing this. It's a little bit of an art to it, but it's fun. And once you get the hang of it, you really enjoy it. And just watching things grow from a seed to a little bitty seedling, and then, you know, on up to a transplant that's ready to go in the ground. All right, so we got that full. Now we need to wet this down. Now, if you wet it beforehand, you don't really need to do this. Get my water on. But this stuff takes a lot of water initially, so we just want to be careful with it. Don't want to splash our soil everywhere. We want to make sure we get these cells nice and wet from top to bottom. And it takes a lot of water, because it's going to soak up a lot of water to get that down at the bottom of the cell nice and wet. So we just kind of have to be slow and easy with it. And once we start to see the water dripping out of the bottom of all those cells, we know we've got enough water on them. And looks like we're pretty good right there. All right. Now we need to make us some dibbles here. I'm just gonna use my fingers there to make just a light impression. We are planting onions here, and onions don't have to be planted too deep, so we don't have to poke a huge hole. Just a little impression there will do the trick. And since we're talking about seed starting and stuff, I don't know about y'all, but down here in the south, it has been a lot cooler this time of year than it was this time of year last year. Last year it stayed pretty hot on in October. That kind of made me a little bit gun shy as far as having my transplants ready to go in the ground. Last year I had everything ready to go in the ground. You know, the transplants either had to get out of the trays or had to be stepped up. And in late September, it was still too hot, and we lost a lot of transplants, and just kind of rough as far as our timing. So that scared me a little bit. I've been here this year. It's been nice and cool. Everything's been staying under 80 as far as the temperatures go. And if I had transplants ready to go in the ground, I would have them in the ground right now. But I waited because I was worried about it being too hot like it was last year. So just kind of got to roll with the punches sometimes. You never know how it's going to pan out, but we don't get too cold down here, so we still got plenty of time, and we should be just fine. So we got some duster onions here. We're going to get in the ground, get in these trays here. We're going to try to put one seed per cell. Sometimes that's tough with these onion seeds because they're tiny. So we'll just do our best. And if we, with onions, you know, it's not like broccoli or something where you kind of do want to thin them if you plant multiple ones per cell. With the onions, you can grow out a couple plants per cell, and you can just pull them apart when you're transplanting them in the ground, and they'll do just fine like that. So if you get more than one seed per cell here, it's not a big deal. You may actually want to plant more than one seed per cell. You know, that might be advantageous for you to get more onion plants out of your tray footprint here. So we're just gonna go along here and drop them in as careful as we can. We don't have one of those fancy vacuum seeders that'll do it all for you, so we just do it all by hand. What else was I going to talk about? I told y'all on the row by row show, and I've talked about on some of the videos, how I'm no longer doing our vegetable bag operation. I'm kind of hanging up my market farming boots, so to say. And in doing that, I will tell you, it has made me feel quite liberated as far as my fall planning and fall seed starting goes. Because when I was doing the market farm, you know, I had to really focus on things that were super productive, and I couldn't do a lot of experimentation with varieties. I had to really just grow varieties that I knew were home run performers, and I couldn't test too much because if a crop didn't make it, and I didn't have anything to sell. But since I'm not doing that anymore, I'm able to grow a lot more different varieties and try a lot more different things, do a lot more what we call trials, where we're comparing a lot of varieties. And you know, it just feels good. It's gonna be a lot more fun doing that. Also trying to grow some herbs, you know, which we didn't ever do with the market farm. So a lot of different things I'm able to do now that I'm not trying to grow enough to sell. And we'll just grow enough and give away the extra, or excuse me, make some sauerkraut or freeze this stuff, put it up, whatever we want to do. It's just, I knew the day was coming when we weren't gonna market farm anymore. Not that it wasn't successful, just it started wearing on me, you know. And I knew that day was coming, but I didn't realize how liberating it was going to be when I eventually made that decision. So it just kind of feels like a load off my back. My weekends a little more free now. Have time to play with the kids more. I don't have to spend all day Saturday or Sunday picking and packing vegetables. I'm not as stressed about always planting and getting new stuff in the ground, so we always have stuff to put in the bags. Just a whole different ball game. Now, I say I don't want to dissuade anybody from starting a small-scale market farm, because it can be profitable and it's fun to do. But just at this point in my life, it was something I had to stop doing, or else I was going to go crazy because I had too much going on. So that is that. Now back to the seed starting here, as we're getting all these onions in these trays here. You'll notice some of these trays, not all of them, because Greg didn't do it with all his, but some of them, I'll make sure I'm not missing any there. Some of them have this white stuff on top, and that is perlite. Now perlite is usually a primary ingredient in any of your seed starting mixes, but you can also get perlite just by itself. And all the commercial growers around here use perlite to cover up their seeds, and I'll show you how we do it in just a minute once we're done planting all these onion seeds here. Kind of lost my spot there for a second. Anyway, we used to just cover the seeds with more seed starting mix, just a light, what we call dusting. And that works fine. Some of these trays here, Greg did that, and they look just fine. But we always noticed that the commercial guys around here did not do the dusting, and they topped them off with this perlite here. But we asked a bunch of them, and they didn't really know why they did it. That was just kind of the way the commercial guys always done it, and they didn't really know why, but they did it that way and it worked. So we tried it, and it seems to work good. Several different theories we've heard from people out there on why it works. Some people say fungus gnats. Some people say it just provides more aeration there. I think the biggest difference with us, I've never seen any fungus gnats, no matter which way we do it. But I think the biggest difference is sometimes if you've got soil on top, especially when you start fertilizing, you can start to get kind of this brown / green algal crust on top of the soil there. And it doesn't always inhibit any plant growth, but sometimes it seems like it creates kind of a little bit of a anaerobic surface there, and may limit some oxygen to the roots and stuff. So when you use that perlite as a top dressing, it's like these little tiny volcanic rocks there, and you don't have an issue with that crusting over. At least that's my 2 cents. Okay, so we got a little sweat going here. We got all these cells filled with the duster onion seeds. And a lot of people may be wondering, why don't you just buy plants instead of doing it from, seed, growing your own transplants? We did some testing last year and compared some plants that we had bought versus doing it ourselves, and the ones that we grew like this made a lot better onions. Bigger onions, just more healthy looking onions. I really think that time from when the plant growers pull them plants out of the ground, trim them up, ship them to you, you wait a couple days to plant them in the ground, I think that time makes a huge difference. Now, that's not to say you can't grow nice big onions from plants, but these right here never experience that kind of shock. You go straight from soil to soil with them, and just had really good results with it. So for now on, this is how I'll do all my onions, and we've been really trying to add a lot more onion varieties to the site: short day, intermediate day, and long day. I told you about the perlite topping with that, so I've got some right here. This stuff is kind of fine. The only thing about this stuff is it'll get a little dusty and make you cough, but if the wind's blowing real bad, this stuff here, it's so light it can get everywhere. But so we're just gonna I use this little tray, works pretty good. You could use a cup or something. We're just gonna kind of lightly cover those seeds. Those onion seeds are small. We don't have to put a whole lot on them, just enough to kind of cover them up. Like I said, this can make a mess. You probably don't want to do this inside the house. You want to do this outside if you're gonna do it this way. We don't want to fill them up too much. We still want to be able to see the divisions between the cells on our tray there. We want to make sure all the seeds are covered. That looks pretty good right there. So that's good. And then come in here with some water and make sure everything's nice and wet. And we've got to be careful with that perlite, because you put the water hose too close or the nozzle too close down there, you can spray that stuff everywhere. So we'll be real gentle with our watering. Make sure we're watering until we get water coming out of the bottom of that tray, and stand back and wait. We don't need any heat mats this time of year. It's plenty warm inside this greenhouse. You can see I'm starting to sweat it up right here. But these onions usually take about 7 days or so to start coming up. A lot of your brassicas, your collards, broccoli, that stuff is usually a lot faster than onions as far as getting up and getting out of the ground. Once these things get going, they grow pretty dang fast, and they're really, really easy to pull out of the trays. And if you never tried growing your own onion plants, I would highly recommend giving it a try. I think you'll have really good success with it. It's not hard at all. Once you get the seeds up, keep this nice and moist. We water it a couple times a day. Once you get those seeds up, not a whole lot to it there. And we've got plenty of videos out there talking about the onion growing process, after you put them in the ground. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell button so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you did enjoy this video, check out these other 2 onion videos right here. I think you'll really enjoy those as well. We'll see you next time.